I'd like to welcome you all to this session. Thank you so much for being here. So I am Shweta Srinivasan, an incoming business analyst at McKinsey, and I have with me Aditya Sriram, an incoming associate at Bain. So this session is about how to bag, MBB offers via the off-campus route. Now, before we start, I'd like to briefly introduce Cracking the Consulting Interview. So this is an initiative I started to help management consulting aspirants with case solving, resume reviews, articles, and videos. So we're active on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and on Medium. So you can check out our posts on LinkedIn and register for one-on-one sessions through that. You can check out our videos on case demonstrations on our YouTube channel and our articles on how to actually navigate this consult prep process, and some articles on topics such as PACs and other business and finance topics on our Medium page. I put the link to all of these on the chat box so you can take a look whenever you're free. So let's just dive right into the session. So this session would be structured in 3 parts. First, we would have a general discussion where I would ask Aditya a few general questions. Next, we've collected most of the questions that you have asked through the Google form we circulated, and we will be covering all of those. And finally, we'll open the floor up for questions from the audience. So let's save all the specific questions for the end, and let's begin. So first off, I'd like to invite Aditya to tell a little bit about himself and his journey with this process.
Hello. Hi, Shweta. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm audible. Okay. So first of all, thank you so much for having me here. It's really my pleasure. So just to quickly introduce myself, as you all know, I'm Aditya Sriram. I'm graduating. I just did my undergraduate from NIT Trichy. I'll be graduating this year. I'm from Chennai. I was born and brought up over there. And I'll be joining Bain as an associate consultant this July. So yeah, I think that's more than enough for now. We'll talk more about the specifics later on during the session.
Sure. So I think this is a question which most people will have when you're in your third year or in your final year of college. How do you decide, what you really want to do, and how do you opt for consulting as that, space which you want to explore first?
Okay, that's an interesting question. So for me, this question was lingering in my head from first year. I kind of wanted to decide what really I wanted to pursue immediately after my undergraduate. So the way that I kind of figured it out was that I did a lot of internships. So during the 4 years of my college, I did 5 internships in total, where I explored different industries and different profiles. So my first one was in my core engineering. The second one was in analytics. The third one was in management consulting. The fourth one was in operations, and the fifth and final one was in marketing and strategy. And I had a mix of working with both corporates and startups. So I tried experiencing all of these things before taking a decision. And once all of these internships kind of got over, I just kind of look back at all of these experiences, and I literally put a framework for myself as to what is that career path that I wanted to get in immediately after my undergraduate. So I kind of felt that consulting was one of the best places to go, primarily because of a couple of reasons. The first one being that I really enjoyed the work. And even during that internship, and just listening to a lot of consultants speaking about what the day in a life looks like, although there is no day in a life, but the general work that they do, that's something that really excited me. The number crunching, the problem solving, communicating and talking to clients, the traveling part. I think that all of that aspect was really great. So I would say that was one of the first reasons. The second reason was that consulting is known for, especially management consulting, there's a very, very steep learning curve, and that's primarily because of the kind of projects that you get to work on, different industries, different problem statements. It's also with the clients, you get to directly work with, the CXOs of all of these large corporations, and also the people working alongside you. All of the other consultants are one of the smartest people I know in the country, because consulting is a very competitive space to get into, right? So I kind of felt that just a couple of years in consulting, there would be very, very steep learning curve, and that's the kind of place that I genuinely wanted to be. So that was my second reason. The third reason for me was that 10 years, 15 years down the line, would that experience be really valuable for me? I always think of the long term. So a lot of people know that exit opportunities are really great in consulting. So I'm not really made up my mind that I'm going to stay in consulting, leaving consulting super early, but I'm just keeping all of the options open. It's very important that people kind of think this way, right? So consulting is known for its exit options. If majority, I would say majority, a lot of Fortune 500 CEOs are all ex-consultants, Sundar Pichai, Indra Nooyi, just like a couple of them, they were all past management consultants. So you can literally go to any field that you want. Like if you want to go to the startup space, you can start your own company, you can join an early stage startup, you can join a very fast-paced growing startup, you can join your clients, big corporates, you can go to private equity, you can go to venture capitalism. There are so many different places that you can get into. So I think that's really like a plus point for consulting. So I would say that these were the three biggest reasons why I opted for consulting. But yeah, heads up, I'm not really like glorifying consulting as like one of the best career paths out there. There are obviously a lot of cons also, like work-life balance and everything. So yeah, maybe we can talk about that later. Shweta, you can also share your insights to pros and cons and everything. But yeah, just so these were the reasons why I opted for consulting.
So I think like to summarize, it's sort of a blend of your personal experience, your personal aspirations, and your interactions with others. So these are, three things you all should focus on when you're deciding which space to enter into. This could be consulting or anything else. Try out some things for yourself. Maybe, think of where you want to be 5 years, 10 years down the line and see whether the career path you pursue will take you there. And definitely talk to a lot of seniors, look at what people are writing about and get a sense of how they experience the career which you want to choose.
That's true. So another interesting thing about consulting is that it's like super broad. You don't really specialize in the first initial years. And I think that's really great, especially in the initial years of your career, right? If you're not really specializing on one thing, some people, there is this huge argument about this particular point, but I just kind of feel that initial couple of years shouldn't really specialize. And maybe 10 years down the line, it makes sense. It makes sense to, specialize. So that's like an additional point definitely for consulting. And like you mentioned, I learned a lot about like different career paths by talking to people, not just like Google search and like watching videos and everything. I actively went and spoke to a lot of people in all of the companies that I worked in, like the interns that I did, and also tried using LinkedIn to speak to a lot of people. And I was able to come to a conclusion based on this.
So like once you sort of decided that, you want to get into consulting, what was your entire profile building journey like? So this could be, even in the short term, just for your consulting prep, but, slightly more long term, say like throughout your undergraduate time.
Yeah. So, considering the fact that I got into like parent company off campus, things were like very, very uncertain. So I never did profile building for the sake of consulting. I'd be like very, very honest, because my, 4 years of my engineering, probably around 3.5 years, people told me, what, it's impossible. I never looked at consulting as a career path. And it was just in the final year when I immediately got an opportunity, I kind of like hashed on to it and did it, right? So if you look at my whole profile building journey, I never did it for the sake of consulting. It was more for me to build a network and try to learn as much as possible. And I always had my eye on consulting, not to get into it actually, but just to learn what the best practices were. Because I kind of felt that, learning the best practices in consulting, all the skills that you get is like really transferable elsewhere, wherever you go to. Let's say, for example, you want to do like marketing role in a startup, right? Definitely all your experiences with respect to consulting will definitely help you, right? So that was kind of the attitude that I had. I wanted to build a network and learn as much as possible. That's it. So if you look at my profile, let's just break it down into like different sections, maybe, academics. So I had like, not like a great CGPA, but it was like decent enough for me to like, make it through the shortlist. I had around like 8.5 on 10. So don't really go with this particular number because the shortlist kind of varies across like different colleges that you're part of, and all of these factors are definitely there. So I think that's all with respect to academics. I haven't done anything else apart from that. With respect to my internships, like I mentioned before, I've done like 5 internships in the past, where one was a management consulting intern where I worked with Retsia Consulting. The first 2 I don't want to talk about was core engineering analytics. So the third one was management consulting, where I worked at Retsia as a business analyst for 2 months. My fourth intern, I worked with a startup called as FamPay. It was in the fintech space. And the fifth intern was again in the fintech space, where I worked with the startup called as Epify. So that was kind of how my internships were. And apart from this, if I look at positions of responsibilities in college, it was like a very important section for me because, I was a fresher. So I did a lot of things in college. I was the president of a consulting club in campus called as 180 Degrees Consulting. So I was part of that organization for 3 years. And through that process, I've worked with a lot of nonprofit organizations and startups. So one part of that particular POR was that, I actually had a POR where I was the president of a club. The other part of it was that I got to work on student consulting projects. So I had like a separate section in my resume, which was dedicated to like student consulting projects, where I listed down like 3 to 4 out of the whole lot. So that was one interesting thing. Apart from this, I was part of the marketing team of a fest. So all of these engineering colleges, they have like cultural fests, right? So I was the marketing team. I was like a head of like one particular sub team. So that was one thing. Apart from this, I was also into music in college. I was part of the music troupe at NIT Trichy. I've like performed multiple times. I've gone to a lot of competitions and everything. So that was like another POR that I had. So that's about like positions of responsibilities. I would say extracurricular activities. You can put music either in extracurricular activities or POR. So I participated in a lot of case competitions. I came in the top 3, like in a couple of them. So that was one part of it. Then a couple of music related competitions that I had won. But that wasn't like really major. Couple of fellowships that I kind of got, international conferences that I applied to and I kind of got selected. So those were all part of my resume. So I would say that's pretty much how my resume and my profile building journey was.
Awesome. So if I have to sort of add some points from my end, again, if you were to look at my resume, it's sort of like it covers a lot of different sectors, which is similar to Aditya. So I think you start exploring. Usually we start exploring with the core field. So I started with a core internship, and then I explored a research internship in finance. Then I explored a corporate strategy consulting internship at an investment bank. So those were like my 3 major internships. Apart from that, I worked with 180 Degrees Consulting again. So I spent like a year and a half there, and I was able to mention my projects. When it comes to academics, I had a pretty good CGPA. And when it comes to extracurriculars, I had like done a bunch of things in the oratory space, in a bit of sports, a bit of music. And even for PORs, I was able to, extrapolate all my interests in extracurriculars and in the professional space. And I was the head of a oratory club. I was in the placement team. And I was able to also extrapolate 180 Degrees Consulting for this. So if you were to look at my resume also, you would get a sense that this person has explored a lot of different areas, which I think is definitely a good bet. You can definitely explore a lot of different areas and show diversity.
Yeah. So one thing I would love to know your opinion on this, Shweta. So the thing is that there is no like ideal consulting profile or ideal consulting CV for freshers. Like I would like to add that caveat, because for like people who have like a couple of years work experience, I've just heard like it's relatively difficult. But for freshers, the way it kind of works is that they look for spikes in your profile. You need to optimize for 2 to 3 things. Maybe we'll talk about spikes later on. But people need to understand that there is no like ideal profile. There are so many different things that you can do. Whatever you do, you just have to be like exceptional, and you need to differentiate yourself from the others. So I think that should be like the thing with profile building. But just like another tip for people who are applying off campus, one thing that you need to understand is that the chances to get into like the top firms is relatively low. So don't just have like consulting in the back of your head and do profile building just for the sake of that. Do it for the sake of learning and building a network, and it'll open up so many other opportunities. So don't just do it for the sake of consulting and adding like a couple of points in your resume. Just like a heads up. Yeah,
exactly. When people ask, are there any specific prerequisites for a fresher? There are none. They just look for demonstrations of excellence in different areas. So it could be in academics, PORs, whatever you do, just give it your best. That's essentially what they look for.
Yeah.
All right. So next is one of the most important aspects with respect to off-campus applications, the networking aspect. So talk to us about how you network and any tips you can offer like aspiring candidates.
Yeah. Okay. So to be really honest, I'm not really in a position to like give tips or advice to people. I'll probably just give some general practices, but more I'll be talking about like my experience. The reason why I'm giving this disclaimer is because there is no like one way when it comes to off campus. Considering the fact that the probability is like really, really low, there are like, I don't know, 1,000, 2,000 different ways how you can kind of get in, but you need to figure out what works for you, how you are going to network, how you're going to leverage your environment and everything, to get that particular opportunity. So this is how you need to think about it. So just because whatever worked for me with networking doesn't mean that it will work for you. My circumstances and environment are different, but what you need to understand is just take like some ideas and inspiration from whatever I did, right? So again, for like I mentioned before, 3.5 years of my college, I never really thought of like getting into consulting. I wanted to get in, but people were like, it's impossible, no point putting effort in that direction, right? So, but like I mentioned before, I wanted to just learn what the best practices in consulting were. So I was part of 180 Degrees Consulting. So I was part of the organization for 3 years. And through that, as a team, we were around like 25 different people. And we just wanted to learn, right? So we reached out to so many folks in the consulting world where we leveraged our alumni network. So just going to LinkedIn, searching for NIT Trichy and, filtering out all of the people working in McKinsey Bain BCG and just reaching out to them, telling them, you know what, we need help, where we are working on such projects, you know, we are creating social impact, we're helping a lot of people, and we would love to get your mentorship for the same. So just like reaching out to people like this and asking them to connect us with like more people was something that we had been doing for the last around like 1.5 years, I would say. But it was not at all for getting into consulting firms. So that's how it started. So where, you know, all of these people, we reached out to all of these people. That was like the entry point when it comes to like the networking part. And over the due course of 1.5 years, we kind of built a lot of relationships with them over a long period of time, like small things like bringing them down to campus, help them, you know, like conducting a session online for the whole college, paying for their accommodation and everything. This is like pre-COVID times, I'm saying. You know, paying for their accommodation, helping them relive their college memories, like small things that we kind of did, which made them happy, and they felt that, you know what, they're nice people, you know what, we can help them out and everything. So a lot of effort kind of went in that particular direction for a long period of time. And yeah, so there was this one person, I don't want to name that person, but you know, I also had like a close personal relationship with that person where all my personal doubts with respect to my career and everything, I used to just like, you know, brainstorm with him, like, what should I do? How should I apply for this and everything? So all of my doubts I used to get clarified. And over the due course of time, you know, it just so happened that towards the end, I almost decided that I'm going to apply for like venture capital firms and everything. And he told me that he's going to help out. And just towards the end, you know, there was like an opening that opened up at Bain, and he told me that, should I refer you inside? And that's kind of how it happened, like for me. So that's basically how like my networking journey kind of happened. So if I were to give like some best practices and tips, I would just say that if you want to get into all of these top consulting firms, don't get into the conversation expecting a referral. I would say that's like the biggest thing. Do it for the sake of getting to know that person, trying to understand or learn about like consulting and what the best practices are. Or it can be for anything external. Let's say if you're part of like some club, society, some organization or something, just leverage that and start networking. Build like a close personal relationship for a long period of time, because all of these relationships are not built overnight. Like, trust me. So I think that would be like the only advice that I would give when it comes to networking to get into like McKinsey and BCG or the other top consulting firms for that matter.
Awesome. So I guess like the main takeaways are, you know, don't network for the sake of getting into the firms. Start networking early on and find some, you know, common ground, or find something which you both can talk about, or like have a conversation over.
Exactly. So just like another caveat that I want to add over here is that this is the kind of approach that you need to follow when it comes to getting into the most competitive firms, like consulting in IB or like VC for that matter. For, let's say, startups, you don't have to like do this particular approach where it's like super rigorous, where it takes like a long period of time. So there are different ways to network. There's like short-term networking, long-term networking. I think that's what I call it. Long-term networking is what I did, building relationships for a long period of time. Short-term networking is just sending a message to people on LinkedIn and, you know, asking them to refer. That kind of works for the firms that are like actively hiring and are hiring aggressively. So startups and a couple of huge corporates that are like hiring aggressively, you can just send message to people on LinkedIn. That also works.
All right. So the next thing is, you know, like the preparation process. So what was the preparation process like? Is there something you had to focus on specifically because it was an off-campus interview? And what was like the time period you had between, you know, getting a yes from the person who was referring you till when your interviews happened?
Okay. So if I were to talk about the timeline, I would say that around like Jan first week or December last week, I don't really remember. I think that's when I got to know that that's when that person asked me, you know, should I refer you and everything. And immediately, I think after 1 week, I kind of got a call from the HR saying that, congratulations, you've been shortlisted, because there was like a resume shortlist round also. I had to go through that even after the referral. So yeah, I got that call, and I told the HR that I needed like 2 months to prepare. I had like exams and everything. So I tried pushing the interview as much as possible because at that point I was not really ready. And I was like completely surprised when I got like shortlisted and everything. It happened super fast. So I asked for 2 months time, and it was, I think March mid was when my interviews were scheduled. So I had like 2 months proper time dedicated where I could practice like, you know, for the case interviews and everything. So my interview process, maybe I'll talk about that later, but I'll focus on the first 2 months right now. So for me, I was one of the first people to go through this process on campus. amongst the friends and everyone that I know. So it was like relatively a little bit more difficult because I was completely new to this. So the way that I did it was in the first 2 weeks, I did two things. I like in consulting, primary research, secondary research, right? So I spoke to so many people. So I kind of identify like different people to talk to. So I spoke to people who got into consulting firms from undergraduate level. From IIT Madras, I spoke to like a couple of people. I spoke to a couple of folks from IIT Bombay who got into Bain. So this was from an undergraduate level. I spoke to around like 3 to 4 people. Then I spoke to B school folks who went into consulting, and then I spoke to consultants working in all of these top firms, and then I spoke to senior level folks like senior managers, partners, and all of these folks. So I probably had conversations with around 10 to 15 people, I would say. I primarily leverage LinkedIn for this, just sending like cold messages to people, asking them, I've got shortlisted. So I leverage the fact that I got shortlisted for this company, and so they're like more ready to help, right? So so that's what I did. And on the other hand, I also went through, so during those interviews or like those calls with all these people, I tried to understand how their interview preparation process was, trying to understand that. And the second aspect was like for all of the people working in all of these firms, what do they expect from an ideal candidate? So I got a lot of information on that. Now, on the other hand, I also leverage the internet. There are so many videos on YouTube, so many resources out there. Maybe after this, we could just like send a couple of resources or something, maybe just compile it. Or there were so many resources out there. So I kind of just kept reading for the first 2 weeks, trying to understand what the best practices are. So then I kind of made like a plan. So during the due course of this 2 months, I had like 2 rules for myself. The first one would be that I would practice like 1 case per day, whatever happens. The second rule was that by practice, I meant like practicing with another person, not doing it alone. So these are just like the 2 things that I wanted to do. So I kind of spent around like 1 to 1.5 hours every day dedicated to like case interviews. And so if I were to break that down again, I would say the first few weeks, first 2 to 3 weeks, I practiced just like profitability and market entry from day 1.0, where I practiced majorly with my batchmates, a couple of them at 20 Degrees Consulting, the consulting club, and it's a couple of juniors. So it was a little bit difficult for me again because they didn't know what case interviews are. So I had to train them, how do you take interviews? And then I had to like practice. But yeah, so that period was very important for me because I just had to understand how the flow and the rhythm of case interviews are. So that's what I did for the first 2 weeks, and I got a hang of it. After that, I stopped practicing cases with them. So then I found out another person from my batch who was also like applying to Bain. He got shortlisted and everything. He applied for BCN, so he also had to go for like case interviews and everything. So we started practicing like cases regularly, and during that stage, we kind of explored other different kinds of problem statements like pricing, growth strategy, operations, case, and all of that stuff, right? So that was probably, I would say, week 4, week 5, week 6, every day we used to like practice. After I think week 6 to week 8 was when I reached out to like a lot of experienced folks. Like remember in the beginning, I spoke to a lot of people. So I reached out to them again, asking if I could practice a case with them. So I think that was where like I learned a lot, because when it comes to case interviews, the feedback that you get is like very, very important. If you're from off campus, it's very, very difficult to get like feedback because most people don't have that experience. They have not gone through that process. So for me, the most like the best stage in terms of like learning for me was during the final thing where I practiced cases with a lot of senior level folks. And I still remember the final case that I practiced, I actually flopped. Like I didn't do it properly. It was like with one of the most senior level folks, and I lost confidence at that particular point. But yeah, like again, like I had this 1 week before my first interview, but still the last 1 week I just kind of practiced something, and finally I was able to do it. So yeah, if I were to talk about resources that I used or case books that I used, to understand case interviews and everything, I used this website called as Crafting Cases. Yeah, so I think that was very helpful. They have like a YouTube videos and everything. So that was very helpful for me. Case books, first few weeks I used A1.0 and Cases Interview Cracked. After that I used Ahmedabad case book. And post that, for like practicing a lot of unconventional cases, that kind of happened towards the end. So we just Googled that. There are a lot of websites online where you can find like case libraries and everything. If you just filter unconventional cases, you'll get a lot. So I would say that these are the different resources that I kind of use. Very helpful for me.
Sure. So again, to summarize, I think, and I sort of resonate with your process as well, because initially you have some growing pains because you're practicing cases with peers who also don't know how to like actually solve cases. So it'll take like a few days to sort of get used to the entire process,
Exactly.
and then you start getting super comfortable with the friends who you're solving cases with, and that is when you sort of have to start diversifying and solve cases with other people within your same batch maybe. And then the next stage is, when you solve cases with people from the firm, and like you mentioned, that's when like the real learning happens, and that's sort of like a real simulation of an interview, because you won't be as comfortable as you would be with your friends, but that's like really important. And
Yeah.
resources, I used like pretty much the same resources, like day 1.0 and case interviews crack. And later on, I used like IIMA's book and a little bit of, FMS book as well. So some B school books are definitely useful. So if you can
Yeah.
get your hand on them towards the end, that'll be super helpful.
Yeah, so just one heads up with respect to like resources. There are so many resources out there, so many books that it gets like super overwhelming. So
Yeah.
one thing that you need to understand is that there is no best resource. There is no like official guide. Like even yesterday, I was having this conversation with someone, but there's no like official guide like for GMAT prep and everything. So case interviews, there is like so many books available. If you can just get a hand of like one or two case books, that will be like more than enough. Just make sure that you practice all of the cases, in that. That's
Yeah,
it.
and the only reason why we suggest books is because you don't want to waste time hunting for cases. So
Exactly.
it's just comfortable if you have a book. So there's no magic book, there's no magic number of cases as well. I get that a lot. There's no like specific number of cases which you have to solve. It
Exactly.
just depends on like how much time you have and how enthusiastic you are. Like
Yeah.
do not solve, don't look at people who solve a lot of cases and be odd, because you can really have case burnout, and that's not something you want.
Yeah, so that's the reason why I kept like the threshold of one case per day. I did not want to like do more than that. Some days I did like two cases, but I did not go like more than that.
Yeah.
So that's there. And with respect to the number of cases that you practice overall, that's a very interesting point, because I legit have this question, and every person I spoke to, I asked this question: how many cases should I practice? Right? Again, there is no like magic number. I've known people who told me that, you know what, I practiced probably like 5 to 10 cases, just 3 weeks, and I was able to crack the interview. On the other hand, I know people who practice probably like 100 cases. So yeah, you just have to understand where you lie in this particular spectrum and try to understand, what your past experiences, what your skills are, and everything, and just try to identify where you're weak. Just works towards that. That's it.
And most importantly, spend enough number of hours or enough amount of time analyzing your past cases. That's
Exactly.
super important.
Yeah, so just like one tip over there. So there's something that I did. So I had like one file. So whatever cases that I practiced, I did not do it like in any notebook. I did it in an A4 sheet, because during the actual interview also I had to have that A4 sheet and everything. And I was like literally sharing my screen whenever I wrote something. So I wanted to follow like one proper template. So I had like all of these bunch of A4 sheets kept in one file. And every 2 weeks, I used to review all of the previous cases. So that was like very helpful for me. And after every case, I just used to write down, all the areas where I could like probably improve, all of the mistakes that I did. So it will be easier for me when I revise every 2 weeks. So that thing was very helpful. And I would highly encourage everyone to also do something similar to this at least.
Yeah, I followed the exact same thing. And like when I was reviewing it, I would try, like, I wouldn't like spend way too much time on it, but I would, try coming up with another structure, say like 2 weeks down the line, and see if this is better or this captures the problem.
Exactly. Yeah, I did that also. Yeah. Yeah.
So finally, like about the interview experience. So if you could just shed some light on your interview process and what you learned.
Okay. So, unlike on-campus placements, I don't know, it gets over in like 1 or 2 days, right? For you all? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1 or 2 days. For me, it was like super stretched out, which was like a very big headache for me. I think it happened over a period of 1.5 to 2 months or something. Yeah, it should be like 1.5 months, which is like a pretty huge time. So I had 4 rounds in total. 3 of them were with senior managers. So if you look at the hierarchy at Bain and Company, so you join as an associate consultant, senior associate, then senior associate consultant, senior consultant, manager, senior manager. I think after that it's associate partner, then partner. Okay, that's kind of how the hierarchy is. So first 3 cases were with senior managers, and the final one was the partner round. So I had like 4 interviews in total. The first case was a straightforward like profitability case. The second one was a market entry case that I got. Third one was where things got a little bit interesting. So the interviewer came with like a different case in mind, but the moment that he saw that I had like 2 internships in the fintech space, and he also had like a couple of years experience working in the financial services space. So the moment he saw that, he made a statement something like, I was about to give you a different case, but since you have this experience, I'm going to give you a case related to this space. And he just like made up a case on the spot, where he told me something. It was like a very generic thing, like you're the CEO. I mean, your client is the CEO of like a large retail bank, and he wants to understand how will the fintech evolution affect his company and what should they do about it. So like a very, very super broad thing, right? So over there, all the past frameworks, market entry, profitability would literally not work. And so the most important thing in the case interview process, or when preparing for case interviews, is your ability to come up with frameworks on your own. So that you kind of mastered by practicing a lot of unconventional cases which you've never done in the past. And I think that experience was like very helpful for me during that third interview. So I had like a couple of tips and tricks in mind to come up with like my own frameworks and everything. So yeah, so that was like the third interview. So I was able to go through that. And the partner round was a mix of like a market entry, pricing. It literally had like a lot of elements to it. So that was with respect to like the case interviews. With respect to the other part of the overall interview process, the HR questions and everything, I mean, honestly, I had literally nothing, like close to nothing, like where they ask you, why do you want to join Bain, or why do you want to get into consulting? So each of the interview went for around 1 hour, where around 30 to 40 minutes was dedicated to the case interview. And the first 20 minutes was just like casual conversation about random stuff like IPL, cricket, and just getting to know me, what my hobbies are, talking about music, just like normal casual conversations. And I think this is very specific to Bain. I've always gotten this tip that Bain usually looks for conversationalists, people who can like speak very well, and so I think that's something that they look for. They looked into, I guess. I'm not really sure what really happened over there, but yeah, that's basically how it was split. 20 minutes for the conversations, random conversations, and the last 30-40 minutes was for the case interviews.
Awesome. Okay, so if I have to talk about my interview experience, so at BCG I had 3 rounds, at McKinsey I had 3 rounds. My BCG rounds were, my first round was a profitability case. I mean, we had like a general chit chat in the beginning, because I think the interviewer and I both were located in places where it was raining. So we both were worried that our internet would go kaput. So we were talking about that. We had a profitability case. My second and third rounds at BCG were actually a guesstimate. And in my third round, after my guesstimate, I was asked to speak about some law which was introduced in the last 5 years. So I think I spoke for like around 10-15 minutes on like any particular law of my choice. At McKinsey, my interviews are super long. So usually on campus, our interviews last no more than 35 minutes on average. And they usually call us after 35 minutes. But at McKinsey, each of my rounds lasted for a minimum of 45 minutes. So my first round was like 20 minutes conversation on, COVID and its impact on India Inc. And then I had a guesstimate, which was like a pretty detailed guesstimate. My second round was an unconventional case. So, say you're going to like a medical laboratory, and then you're realizing that you're spending way too much time there. You just spent 5 hours to get this particular test done. So help them, improve, stuff like that. And my third case was again like unconventional, very specific, whether this auto industry is considering launching a 30-minute service facility similar to like Domino's 30-minute pizza. Should they do it or not? So it was very specific. But in my third round, I was asked like one HR question, sort of, how you handle the crisis situation. But yeah, apart from that, like in addition to HR questions, there is a chance that you'll be asked to talk about what is happening around you. So be a little bit prepared for that.
Yeah. So just like one tip that I would want to give over here is that if you have your interviews lined up, most probably be remote right now. So usually if it's like on campus, you literally have another person, you can write everything and show to the interviewer, like your frameworks and everything. But doing it online, it's a little bit difficult, like if you want to like communicate all of your points effectively, right? So one thing that I kind of did was that I joined from 2 devices. One was from the laptop and one was from my phone. And I kind of had my phone in such an angle that my paper was visible. So whenever I wanted to show something, I used to like join from my phone immediately and just show my paper. Like even right now, I've kind of used the software to join from my phone. So I'm not doing it from my laptop webcam. So there are softwares available for this. You can check it out. The one that I'm using is Irwin Webcam. So using that, you can just, using a USB cable, you can just connect your phone and just do it if needed. So yeah. So there's like small tips and tricks. We'll kind of figure it out, but I'm just saying this.
Okay, so now that we've sort of completed the main discussion, let's sort of tackle some of the questions you had asked through your Google Forms. So first off, how many people do MBBs hire off campus?
This is honestly, I'm not like the best person to answer this question, and I'm pretty sure no one has an answer to this
Yeah.
question. Like whoever I've spoken to, even they really don't know. The only thing that I know, the number is like pretty less. So if you look at like freshers directly from all of the colleges, the number is like super low. Uh, but like lateral hires are there because I'm joining Bain right now, and like there are a couple of lateral hires where people work for like 2 to 3 years in like some other company where they've just done undergraduate. They worked in like 2 to 3 years in some other company, and then they switch to like these top consulting firms. So that's definitely there, but I would just say that the number is low. That's it. There is no like one number, and the hiring needs, it varies across like different years and different companies also. So it's hard to put a number on it.
Yeah, and getting access to these numbers are very tricky because even for on campus, no matter how hard we tried, it was very difficult to, even get a yes or no on the question of will the hiring remain similar to last year, higher, lower. Yeah, It's very hard to extract any number.
Yeah.
So next, is it possible for a student from a tier 3 college to join MBB for analyst roles?
Again, a very tricky question. So if you ask the question, is it possible? I would say yes, like it is possible. But if you look at the probability wise, it's like we need to accept that the number is like very low. Like when compared to on campus itself is like relatively difficult, but for off campus, it's a lot more like lower than that, right? And people need to genuinely understand and accept this particular point. And that's the reason why I said in the beginning that, don't do your profile building just for the sake of consulting. Try have like a backup plan properly for like all of the things, because I got like an on-campus role like in some other firm, so I had like a backup option. Apart from that, I've done a lot of internships in the past, so I could ask them also if I want to go. So I had like a lot of backup options for me. And then finally this came, and I just like grabbed it, right? So that's how it is. And especially for off-campus, it's very important that you answer the question, why do you want to get into consulting? Because that is what is going to keep you motivated throughout the process. Like having that answer properly, because I kind of remember, I think this was what 6-7 months like before, I had to go through this whole process, and I was very confused if I should like do it or not, all of the effort that you have to put. So I literally made like one whole document saying what could be like the different reasons how this particular experience would help me, not just the consulting experience, the case interview preparation process also, how it would help me even if I get rejected, from Bain. I literally made like a detailed document, and that was what kept me motivated throughout. I used to just read that every time, I messed up like a case. So I think that was very helpful for me. So just understand that the probability is low, but if you were to ask me if it's possible, yes, it is definitely possible. And people need to definitely try for it. Like not everything is easy. Yeah.
Okay, and what kind of work X allows us to become stronger candidates for consulting?
Okay, so when it comes to work experience, it's usually counted as full-time work experience, not internships. Internships are not like work experience. Let me clarify that. From whatever I've heard, this is just my hunch. Like, please don't take my words directly. So if you get into, let's say, more of like technical roles, it's a little bit more difficult if you want to switch. Let's say if you have 2 years work experience in like a software role, it'll be difficult for you to switch from software to consulting, like relatively speaking, is what I'm saying. So if you have like, let's say, if you look at the different tiers of consulting companies, if you work with, let's say, tier 3, tier 4 consulting firms, it's relatively easier for you to switch to like MBB. So that's there with respect to work experience. But for freshers, there is no like ideal profile. You can do literally whatever you want. is what I would say. But you know what, like doing a consulting internship was definitely beneficial for me because I understood what a consultant does, and it gave me a lot of information which was helpful for me to like prepare during case interviews also and have conversations with a lot of people. It gave me a network and everything. So yeah, that's how it is.
And it'll definitely help in answering the question, why consulting?
Exactly. Yeah. Every time someone asks me, why do you want to get into consulting? I'll just play, I've done a consulting intern card and just say that I was able to like choose from that. So that's there.
So in general, with respect to internships and WorkX, like there are 3 factors which you can look at, the brand name, the exclusivity or the difficulty of getting into it, and, the kind of work you did. So all 3 of them like matter. So in case, you're not like, you feel you're not very confident about one of these metrics, focus on the other metrics so you can make sure that overall your experience or internship is, very well rounded and will count as a peak.
Yeah, exactly. So you need to always optimize for those spikes or peaks in your profile, right? So that if you do it in a good brand name, or if you've done like really good work, that will definitely help you. That's that.
Okay, so the timeline of the process, yeah, we've discussed this. Yeah, so BAs versus consultants versus associates.
To be really honest, it's the same.
Yeah.
Like if you look at different firms, they just have like different names for it. That's it. If you look at entry level roles at McKinsey, it's business analyst. For like I'm talking about like undergraduate level, entry level roles. So it's business analyst. For Bain, it's an associate consultant. For BCG, it's just associate, if I'm not wrong. I think yeah. So that's it. Like otherwise, there's like not much difference between the three.
Yeah, they all just used to refer to the entry-level undergraduate hires.
Exactly.
Okay, how do we know when companies are open to taking in interns and full-timers?
To be really honest, even at this particular point, I don't have like an exact answer when they open or like when they are closing or whatever. But if you want to know how, you just have to network and speak to as many people as possible in all of these companies. That's what like kind of worked for me. So just try hitting up people on LinkedIn. As I mentioned, try building relationships with them over a long period of time so that they'll be always there to help you and they'll answer all of these questions. So that's basically how you get to know. Apart from that, I would say there's obviously the company website. There are a couple of consulting firms like Dalberg where they have like seasonal applications where, when did I apply for Dalberg? I honestly don't remember right now, but there's this one period where all of their company employees put up a post on LinkedIn saying that they're opening for the summer analyst internship roles or, the analyst full-time roles. So that point I applied for Dalberg also. So there are a couple of consulting firms where they have like open applications. A couple of them, they don't really put out posts like explicitly stating that they are hiring. So you just have to talk to people in all these companies. So yeah, websites and networking is the answer to the question. If I were to summarize.
Yeah, I would really urge you guys to, watch out for the post from Dalberg. I think they put it like a few months back for this summer internship. But yeah, like they actually recruit interns and in some cases full-timers via, like LinkedIn posts and general applications.
Yeah, so they do have two separate roles itself, summer analyst and the analyst full-time. So both happens at like different dates and different months. So do check it out. Just try connecting with people who are working in all of these firms. Automatically it'll come in your feed.
Okay, so any particular resume suggestions, especially in the case of off-campus?
Like there is no like particular thing. So when it comes to resume, there are two aspects to it. First one would be actually filling all of those points, like doing all of those experiences and everything. The other part would be like writing it properly, making sure the format and everything is proper. I think we've already covered the first part, like optimizing for peaks and everything. To be really honest, there is no difference between on-campus and off-campus when it comes to resumes, what I kind of feel. Like it's the same thing, one-page resume, making sure it's like result-oriented. All of the major best practices is what you kind of follow. Just like one tip that I would say, because if you want to talk about resume, that will be like a whole separate session and so on. But one thing that I kind of did it for off-campus was that I sent it to a lot of people, like once my resume was done and got it reviewed. Like number one was the person who referred, he proofread my whole resume. That was definitely there. But apart from that, I sent it to other people also, like people who are there in like B schools and everything. And I always urge my juniors to also kind of do that. Send it to B school students. They'll definitely help you out because their resume, making process goes for around like 1.5 months. It's like target and focus only towards that. I'm not sure if that happens in like all undergraduate schools. So they kind of understand what the best practices are and everything. And with respect to the templates, for my college template wasn't really that great, like the resume template. So I borrowed, I think, IIM Bangalore's template, I think, if I'm not wrong. I'm not like 100% sure. But yeah, just look out for like a clean template which is being used in like other colleges and just like use that is what I would say.
Awesome. And so someone has asked, like what is the relative weightage to, your actual technical skills and then your personality and ability to just solve problems and, tackle situations effectively. So,
I mean, yeah, so everything is equally important. Like your ability to solve that case properly, do the quant properly, the math fast and everything, trying to identify the core issue, coming up with creative recommendations, to be really honest, everything is literally important. I've asked this question to a lot of people, like which has like more weightage. Everyone is like everything is important. You just have to do everything. That's all. And personality is definitely, a lot of people ignore that. They just focus on the case interviews and they get like super scared and everything, nervous. Don't lose your calm. Don't lose your cool. Whatever happens. So there's a famous thing with consulting companies, the airport test. Right? So would that person, would the interviewer want to spend time with you when they're waiting for the next flight at the airport? It's like a very, very important thing. Like your personality is super important over there. And I kind of felt that the first 20 minutes that I spoke about, right, where we had like a conversation about like random topics, I think they kind of analyzed my personality through that. Maybe, I'm not sure, but that's very, very important. Do not forget that. Is what I would say.
And I think, like all of these are like very interconnected, because your case solving is not like you're, going to go away, take 20 minutes and come back with a structure. You'll have to continuously converse with the interviewer. So, you'll have to exude good communication, then you need to be personable then as well. So you can't like really segregate the two when it comes to a case interview.
True. Yeah.
Okay. So is there any way other than referrals to get a job off campus?
Like I mentioned, there are so many different ways is what I would say. Like referrals, according to me, would be, think about everything in terms of like probabilities. It's something that I always do. So highest probability in order to crack like an off-campus job is through referrals, like hands down. Irrespective of whether it's consulting or any other industry for that matter, if you want to increase your chances, it's going to be through referrals. Any other way, the other one that I know of would be like company website. Just going to the career portal and checking it out, but it never worked for me, at least for McKinsey Bain BCG. Like I remember when I was going through my Bain preparation process, at that time I got like a McKinsey rejection because I never got a referral, but I applied to the company portal just to see if, let's just take a shot and see if like it works out, right? So I got a rejection at that point, saying that your profile is not like shortlisted and everything. So referrals work for me. For you, company website might work out. Who knows? Just try everything and see. Like all it takes is that towards the end, you just need like one reply or that one yes, what you're shortlisted. So try everything out is what I would say.
And so we sort of had the benefit of having an experience to 180 degrees consulting, or say like a consulting internship. But how can others, if their campuses don't host a 180 DC or any other student consulting club, how can they get access to such experience?
Okay, I mean, the first one I would say is open one. Like you can open a 180 DC, but I think right now it's like very, very difficult is what I've heard. But there are a lot of other organizations that kind of do it. So that would be like the first thing. If you want to open your own club, it doesn't have to be 180 DC. It can be some consulting club inside your campus also. I think that would definitely be helpful because you can leverage that when networking and everything. But yeah, don't do it for the sake of getting a job again. Do it for the sake of learning. I keep saying this. That would be the first thing. The second thing that I would say is, there are a lot of organizations out there which are not like campus specific. So one thing that I know is Impact Consulting, if I'm not wrong. Like I'm not like endorsing it or anything. I've never been a part of it, but I've seen a lot of LinkedIn posts. So Impact Consulting is an organization that's very similar to 180 Degrees Consulting, which is not campus specific. Like, you don't have to be a part of like one particular campus and open a chapter over there. It's like pan India, or like I think it's there in a lot of countries. So you can check out similar organizations like that. There'll be like multiple others. But you know what? Like the simplest solution to this would be just form like a group of people, like your friends who have like multiple skill sets, and just like make some brochure and just send it to some company and see if they reply. Just you can just do that. You don't even need like a formal organization to do work on consulting projects. It's like very similar to like freelancing, just doing freelancing in a group, right? So try doing that. Like it should work. I've never done it because I had 180 DC, but just like an idea. Shweta, do you have any other points?
Yeah, I mean, you have like direct consulting experience, and you can get access to all those learnings indirectly as well. So this could be something like, working in the business development role for any startup. You can work with a non-profit and, help them. Essentially what consultants do is solve problems for organizations. So instead of doing that from an external point of view, you can just, work directly with the organization as an intern and help solve their problems. So technically, anytime you are solving a problem for an organization, a non-profit, you can definitely count that as learning for this. And in addition, like if you do want to dabble in the business space, finance space, you can consider stuff like starting blogs, like writing case studies, participating in case study competitions. They're super helpful as well. So you'll definitely be able to get access to this experience via a number of routes.
Exactly. Yeah, there's no one way. There are so many things you can do. There's no ideal profile.
So how does CGPA in college impact the chances?
Okay, I would say CGPA is very, very important. You need to have like a very good CGPA if you want to get shortlisted. Yeah, the higher the CGPA is, the higher your chances are. That's essentially how you need to think about it. If you're having a low CGPA, you will not make it to the shortlist for consulting firms at least. Yeah. So I'm not saying CGPA is like the only criteria again.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's academics is important.
CGPA definitely is one of the major factors which determines whether or not you'll have a peak in your academic section.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, with this, we sort of wrap up the main segment of our discussion today with the discussion and the Q&A. So before we open the floor, I'd like to hand the floor over to Aditya to make an announcement.
That I just realized that the 4 years of my college, I've done like a lot of things. So along with a couple of friends, like one of my friends who's also like working at Bain Cable Network in their private equity division. There's another friend of mine who's working at PNG. So we've all collectively just started a YouTube channel where we talk about college life, career, getting into consulting, finding internships off campus, importance of clubs and societies, and how you leverage it. It's a lot of like topical things with respect to like college life. So we are kind of doing that. So if you're interested in kind of checking that out, I'll just put the link in the comments. Just give me a second. Yeah, so I've just put the link. So yeah, I'd love to get some feedback also. If you guys have any, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. If you have any thoughts, any video ideas, suggestions that you want us to do, happy to do it. But yeah, I don't want to take more time from you, Shweta. Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was of help to you. Do check out Cracking the Consulting Interviews initiative on LinkedIn, on Medium, and like and subscribe to this video and the channel if you find such content helpful. See you in the next video.